What is going on, everybody? My name is Andy York. I am your special guest host for this episode of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, where we are going to be covering AEW Double or Nothing, which just ended a few moments ago. So I'm going to be doing it solo tonight. I'm stepping in for Chris Belcher, who is unfortunately out of town and not able to do this tonight. So I'm going to be stepping in to help him out tonight. So I'm riding at it solo, so if you would like to be a part of it, if you'd like to keep the conversation going, make sure that you comment to let us know, to keep us informed. Tell us what you thought of each match. Tell us what you thought was your favorite part of the show, what your least favorite part of the show is. We're going to talk about all of that, and we're going to be covering all of AEW Double or Nothing. But as I said, I am your filler host for today, Andy York. You can follow me on Twitter at I'm Andy York. As well as the Shandy Show, which this is also broadcasting on as well. So you can find us there as well. And I'm filling in for Chris Belcher, like I said before, who is not able to be here tonight. But I'm going to try to run down the list as he does so elegantly before each and every podcast and show. You can find the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast on all platforms. The audio version you can find on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, all of those fun places. You can also find them on YouTube.com. You can go to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast channel, and you can find them where we are live streaming this as well. So if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. Make sure you follow them on Facebook. You can follow them on Twitch. You can follow them on Twitter as well. I'll flash up their Twitter handle pretty soon, so you can follow them as well. But we're going to be jumping into the double or nothing here. But one last thing. If you forget everything, like I just forgot the T-shirts, if you want to follow and help support the channel by buying a T-shirt, go to prowrestlingtees.com and search for Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, and you can buy a wonderful T-shirt there. You can buy a wonderful T-shirt there. So make sure you check them out. Help support the show. Everything you do and everything that you can give really goes back into the show and really helps the show kind of grow. But enough dealing with all of the in-house stuff. Let's jump right into AEW Double or Nothing. Overall, I thought the show was extremely well. I really, really enjoyed it. I loved, first off, I loved having a live crowd there again. It was very different than the normal silent or even not even a full capacity crowd. I love that we had a full crowd on hand at Daly's Place for AEW Double or Nothing. It really made a difference, and it really added something special to the show, having a live crowd, a full audience there. And it really, give each promotion credit for getting through the pandemic, even without a live audience, being able to put on some pretty good matches and pretty good shows. But there's nothing like having a live crowd, and that really amped it up tonight, and that really showed it tonight. So props to the crowd for being hot and on fire the entire time. They were really, really killer all night. So it really added to the show. But we're going to run down the card. I'm not going to cover the pre-show because, to be honest, I didn't watch it, and I haven't been able to go back and watch it yet. So I'm not going to cover the pre-show. If you have a problem with that, you can yell at me later, yell at Chris. I'm sure we'll both take the heat for it. But let's run right through the card. Let's jump through each match. We're going to start from the beginning, go to the end, because we're going to talk about that main event in length, because it was something different, and it was probably divisive, and we'll get to that here pretty soon. But the match, the show started off with Adam Hangman Page taking on Brian Cage and defeating Cage, which is something that me and Chris both anticipated happening, and something that we both thought would happen. But it was overall, it was a really good match. I think this was a great way to start off the show, getting a fan favorite like Hangman Page in there to kind of kick things off and to get the big pop of the night, the first pop of the night. So that was really nice to see that. We talked about this a little while on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, a couple episodes ago. But we really thought that Hangman Page is kind of taking a back seat due to whatever reason, if it was his own choice, if it was because of the Dark Order, whatever the case was, we kind of thought he was taking a back seat. But I really think after this match, he's going to be taking back his spot in the main event somewhere, where he will be challenging Kenny Omega at some point down the line for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. It may be at All Out. It may be at Full Gear. It may be at Fully Loaded. Fully Loaded, that's not it. I forget what the next pay-per-view is. But he may challenge pretty soon, and I think that would be a great call to have Page kind of go in and challenge Kenny Omega for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. But I also think this was a great showing for Brian Cage, and I think this showed that Brian Cage could be a main eventer at some point. I think the TNT Championship is definitely in his future. I think he's going to kind of go on a route that they took Miro on, kind of have him be in the back for a little bit, but then take the forefront at some point and win the TNT Championship. But I really, really enjoyed this match. I really think that it did its job of getting both men over, but it really elevated and put Adam Hangman Page back into the top, back into the main event status where he should be. And I think that's great for everybody. I think that's the best call for AEW. Then the second match of the night, which I'm sure Chris Belcher is going to shoot me for this, but it was the Young Bucks defeating Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston in what I thought was a fantastic match. I personally think that the Young Bucks are one of the best tag teams in pro wrestling right now. I know he doesn't agree with that, but I think they are one of the best tag teams in pro wrestling. I think they're one of the best tag teams of this generation, if I'm going to be real honest. But I really enjoyed this match. I love how technically four different styles of wrestling really mesh together. You have Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, who are kind of like bar fighters, is the way that JR put it on the commentary, and I really liked how he put that. They're two bar fighters who are ground and pound kind of guys, that the more physical the match is, the more that it leans towards them. And then you've got the Young Bucks, who are definitely high flyers, who are, as a lot of people like to call them, high spotters, and they love to just do spots left and right. And, but I really enjoyed this match. And this was like a theme for the night, that matches kind of started without actually starting. They would take it to the ring. They would take it outside the ring really quickly. And then 5 minutes after they were beating on each other, they would start the match. But I really, really enjoyed this match. I think this was probably one of the matches of the night. I'm not really sure which was match of the night. It was really hard to kind of decide or pick, but I really enjoyed this match. I really thought for a second there, after Jon Moxley hit the paradigm shift on one of the Jacksons, I really thought they had the win. So they did a great job on the near falls, and there was a lot of near falls tonight and multiple matches. But I really love the two different styles matching together. I really love Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston's chemistry in the ring together. You can tell that they are really good friends, but they also work really well together inside the ring. But then you got the Young Bucks, who are doing some of their best work right now. And so I think this match did not disappoint at all. In fact, I think it exceeded expectations in some way. The Young Bucks did retain their World Heavyweight Championship, and there's no telling who they will defend against next. But I would love to see the Varsity Blondes or somebody like that take them on next, to kind of get a young and up incoming tag team to kind of get their spot. Maybe even the Acclaimed. I really enjoy the Acclaimed right now as well. So I would really love to see both of those teams get a shot at the AEW World Championship or AEW Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks some point down the line. And I love the fact that each and every week the Young Bucks kind of fall deeper and deeper into this like psychotic mode or heel mode is the best way I can put it, where they're changing their looks every single week and they're changing something every single week. And so I really enjoy what they're doing right now, but that was definitely one of the highlights of the night. And then what was a very different outcome than I thought, but the Casino Battle Royal match was a lot of fun this year. I really, really enjoyed it. There was a lot of mid-carders and not a lot of big names in it this year, but it was really, really fun to watch. You had Christian Cage starting off the entire match. You had Dustin getting in at the beginning as well. You had a few other guys coming in and going. You had a member of the Acclaim coming in. I forget their names. I'm so sorry. But I really enjoyed the beginning of this match. I really loved this Battle Royal because there were so many different elements going on at the same time. And there was so much going on at once that it was kind of hard to watch at times. And I'm sure when Chris gets a chance to watch it, he will tear the production value of it down, because there was a few times where you kind of missed. Commentary would call something that was happening in the ring, but we missed it because it was either a really wide shot or it was focused on somebody coming down to the ring. So we kind of missed a few shots, a few big moves. We missed the first Christian Cage and Matt Hardy face-off, which was a little frustrating because that's something that we have been wanting to see for a while. But we kind of missed the first one, but we got it back eventually. But I really enjoyed this match. I love Christian Cage starting the match and going all the way to the end. Jungle Boy getting the biggest pop of the night coming out. Well, not the biggest pop of the night, but the biggest pop of the match probably. And then you get the Joker card, which is always a surprise entrant that nobody really knows is going to be there. We speculated on the podcast that might have been Paul White coming out from commentary to be a part of the match. I also thought that there was a chance that maybe Andrade was going to come out because he's going to be facing Kenny Omega in a few weeks for the AAA World Heavyweight Championship. So I thought maybe he came out. But to our surprise, it was Lio Rush, and I really like that call. I think Lio Rush is going to thrive in AEW. I think it fits him very well. I think he's going to do a great job there. He was eliminated very quickly, I thought, from the Battle Royal from coming in and being the big surprise. He was eliminated pretty quickly, which I thought was interesting. But it was really fun to watch. It was really fun to watch him. It was really fun to watch this match. You had the final two, which was Christian Cage versus Jungle Boy, and everybody thought, I'm sure, that Christian Cage was going to walk away with this Battle Royal and challenge Kenny Omega at some point down the line for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. But they had a great back and forth, probably about 5 to 7 minute back and forth between the two guys. They were both killing it. They were both, doing great stuff in the ring. Their chemistry, I mean, for a guy that's only in his 20s and Christian Cage, who is coming back from missing 6 to 7 years of wrestling, they were really great. They worked really well together. I love the spot where Jungle Boy was facing the turnbuckle and Christian pushed him, and most of the time they run into the turnbuckle and then fall off and land on the floor. But instead he wrapped his way around and got right back in the ring, and I thought that was a nice little touch. But Jungle Boy walking away with the win here and is actually challenging Kenny Omega in 2 weeks on AEW Dynamite for the World Heavyweight Championship, which I think is a great call. I'm glad that he is getting his spot. I'm glad he's getting it in front of fans. He was not the most over guy of the night. We'll get to that here pretty soon. But he was definitely over and got You Deserve It chance afterwards. And the rest of Jurassic Express came out after the match and celebrated with him. And Christian Cage even kind of got back in the ring and put him over even a little bit more. But it was really great to see that. It was great to see Jungle Boy kind of getting his spot, getting his moment. It seems like he's been like right there at it for the last couple of years in AEW, and they finally are seeming to put him in a main event spot, which I think is a great call because he's such a fan favorite. He definitely reminds me of a Daniel Bryan-esque in WWE from towards WrestleMania 30. He definitely fits that build of an underdog that nobody really thought would do anything in this company, and not really that he wouldn't do anything, but that he wasn't going to be a main event level guy. And he's shocked the world and shocked everybody by becoming one. So I would love to see him not just get this one opportunity, but get more opportunities down the line. And even at some point win the AEW World Championship. I think that would be fantastic to see. But overall, it was a really great match. I really enjoyed it. From top to bottom, this entire card was absolutely fantastic. There was not a lot of low spots. There was not a lot of stuff missing. And it was overall just really great. And so we're going to be very positive about this today. We're going to be we're going to be a lot more positive than we were about Revolution a few weeks ago. This is probably one of the best pay-per-views so far this year. Maybe the best pay-per-view of 2021 for either company, for any company. It was so great from top to bottom, and I really, really enjoyed it. After the Casino Battle Royal, we had Cody Rhodes going up against Anthony Ogogo, which had another shocking outcome. There was a lot of shocking outcomes tonight. There was a lot of outcomes that was not really expected. I was expecting this to go back and forth for a little bit, but then I thought Anthony Ogogo would kind of take over and kind of squash Cody in a weird way, kind of put Anthony Ogogo over even more. But it was really back and forth. Anthony Ogogo is a great professional wrestler. Obviously, he is a Olympic medalist for England in 2012. So obviously, he's got some talent and some possibilities there. But he's also, I mean, he's a lot of fun to watch. And the weigh-in on Friday night at Dynamite between him and Cody with Paul White in the ring, and he was charismatic there as well. And so I think there's a bright future for him. But surprisingly, Cody Rhodes actually walks away with the win here, and I'm actually all for this. I have been on record to say that Cody and Kenny and the Bucks really at the beginning put themselves on the back burner, and in a way that was a good thing because I got a lot of young talent over. But Cody's been putting over young guys since the beginning of AEW, and it's about time that he kind of got his own win. because it was kind of getting to the point where we're expecting these matches and expecting a great match, but Cody loses to get the young guy over. This was a perfect example of a young guy not winning the match but still getting over in defeat, and I think that was really smart. It really got Cody kind of back into a big time player. I mean, he's Cody Rhodes in AEW. He's going to be a big time player every time, but if he continues to lose, it would kind of dampen it and not make it as special when he does lose to somebody. And so for him to finally get his win on pay-per-view and kind of get this comeback win, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good call. This is probably one of the most underwhelming matches of the night. Nothing really crazy happened. Nothing really special happened. It was exactly what it needed to be. It was probably a few minutes too long. This pay-per-view was kind of long overall, but I thought it did its job. It did what it was supposed to do. But Cody kind of walking away with a shocking win was a great call overall as well. So I think that was a good way to go. After that, we had Miro retaining the TNT Championship against Lance Archer. Lance Archer. I'm sorry. It's 11:30 at night, and I am very exhausted. It's been a long day. But this was a great match as well. Miro kind of getting his heat on Dynamite on Friday, talking crap about Jake the Snake Roberts, but then also at this fan event yesterday, punching Roberts in the stomach, kind of making him absent from ringside for most of the time in this match. Great way to get heat on Miro. This is the absolute killer side of Miro that we needed. This was the killer side that he should have been in WWE that they never did. And we're finally getting it in AEW. And it took a long time to get here. I think this is who he should have been from the beginning, but he kind of was a part of being the best man and doing all those type of things, which was fun and it was fine. But this is the Miro that I think everybody wants to see. And it was definitely back and forth. Lance had a great showing as well. Both of these guys are really strong, powerful guys in the ring. And it was such a physical, strong match. And it was stiff and it was really great to watch. It was a lot of fun to watch. And so I really enjoyed it. Miro walking away with the win after putting on, I forget what he calls it in AEW, but putting on the accolade and really wrenching it back on Lance and hurt, and it made it look really physical. He's really good at doing that. And so I really enjoyed this. Jake the Snake actually came out with the bag, and it looked like he had a snake in it. And Miro kicked the bag, punched the bag, and then chucked the bag and threw it. And commentary, I love that commentary sold it like he had just murdered somebody. When he just threw the bag with the snake in it all the way back down the ring, down to the ramp. And so that was really funny. I thought that was a nice little touch. But I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was great overall. Miro is going to go and do great things. I think he's going to lose the TNT title probably in a few months, and then he's going to go after the AEW championship. And I would love to see him win it. I would love if he was the guy that took it off of Kenny. I think that would be really smart for them to put that on Miro. It would kind of be hard to do heel versus heel in that sense, but I think you could easily make Miro a tweener in AEW because he's such when he is a good guy, when he is a face, he is such a likable guy, and I would love to see him kind of take on a tweener role when he challenges and win the title from Kenny Omega. I could definitely see that in his future very, very soon. And what was probably the most fun match of the night for me, Britt Baker actually defeating the AEW Women's Champion Shida to win the AEW Women's Championship from her. And it's something that should have been done a long, long time ago. Britt Baker definitely got one of the biggest pops of the night. She is absolutely over in AEW. And that was one of the most exciting things about having a full crowd back, is you got to see who the fans were behind, who was over and who wasn't over. And so I really love that we got to see that once again. It was nice that, like I said, it was nice to have fans back, and it was nice to see them kind of jump on the bandwagon of Britt Baker, who has done some amazing stuff recently on AEW. And so it was really great to see her finally kind of climb the mountain in AEW and win the women's championship from Shida. Nothing against Shida. I think she is a fantastic wrestler. I think she has been one of the workhorses in AEW, but it was absolutely time to take the title off of her and put it onto Britt Baker. She is the person that should have been at the forefront of the women's division from the beginning. And it seems like they are finally putting her back where she should be. Chris Belcher commenting, Britt freaking Baker, there is a little life in the AEW women's division. I'm just happy that you're not going to be denouncing the women's division anymore, that you're actually going to be able to stay around and watch it. Because you said that if Britt didn't win, that you were kind of done with the women's division. So I'm glad that she won and that you're able to stick around and watch. But I'm glad that she won. It was such a smart decision for her to win. The match may have been a little slow, but the outcome of it is all that mattered. There were so many near falls in this match. I think I saw on Twitter there was like 18 near falls, which was not expected. They were beating the crap out of each other and kicking out. And there were a few times where I thought Britt was going to win, and then she'd have kicked out. And then there was a few times where she'd have had a deep pin on Britt, and she kicked out. And so it was a great match to watch. I would definitely, if you haven't seen it yet, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It was probably moment of the night, one of the top moments of the night for me, watching Britt Baker win the AEW Women's Championship. And I think she's going to have a long title run ahead of her. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see all these different competitors and women stepping up to face her. You have Nyla Rose, who could step back up. You have Chris Statlander, who could step back up. There's Riho could step back. I mean, there's so many different women now, that there's so many different matchups now that we can see, that I think it's going to rejuvenate and revive the women's division in a great way. And so I definitely think that is something that should be celebrated. And I think that was definitely one of the biggest moments of the night. Before we continue, I'd just like to let you know that this is the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We are live right now on our YouTube channel. We are also live on our Twitch channel. I'm also live on my personal Twitter, not my personal, but my show's Twitter account as well, to kind of get some views and comments going there as well. That is at the Shandy Show. If you'd like to follow us, you can there. But for the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, a new episode drops every Monday and Thursday on audio versions on Spotify, on Anchor, on Apple Music. Like I said, it's been a long day. Like on Google Play, you can find all of those episodes there, as well as on YouTube. You can find all those episodes as well. You can also buy a t-shirt at prowrestlingtees.com. Make sure that you do that as well. So moving on to what I thought was going to be the most boring match of the night, which I'm sure is going to get a lot of heat on me. And that was Sting and Darby Allin taking on Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. And I am very glad that I was so wrong about this match. It was a lot of fun to watch this. Sting looked like he was not back in his prime, but he looked good coming out to the ring. He hit a massive drop off of the poker chips onto both Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, which got a massive pop. He looked really great doing it. He no-sold a suplex onto the ramp and just no-sold it. So this was a lot of fun match. It was a lot of fun to see Sting coming back. Darby Allin is still over with the fans. It was amazing to see that. Darby Allin is one of those guys that will probably be up there with Jungle Boy and with Orange Cassidy as guys that should not be main event level people, but they are because of fan support and also just the work and the effort they put into it. And so I think that's a big deal as well. But it was just a lot of fun to watch this. I will say Sting getting the pin over Scorpio Sky isn't necessarily a big deal. I just think that it would have been better if Darby Allin would have gotten the pin. Not that it's going to damage Scorpio Sky or Ethan Page getting beaten by a Hall of Famer like Sting, but I just think it would have put Darby over just that little bit more that he might need to kind of move him down a little bit further, move him up a little bit further in the card in the future. But overall, this was a fun match. It served its purpose. It got Sting back in the ring. It didn't take too much out of him. He was kind of right back out in his element, in his comfort zone. And so I think that was a great call for him to be in the ring. Now would be great for him to kind of go away for a little bit and be that special attraction that AEW seems to be missing. I would love to see Sting kind of be only shows up 2 or 3 times a year. I think that would be the right way to go with him. Maybe shows up on big dynamites or whatever, but I would love to see him just kind of take a sidestep a little bit and kind of come back when he is needed the most. But overall, that was a really, really great match between Sting and Darby Allin and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. And then the final 2 matches of the night, the co-main events of the night. I know we're kind of rushing, kind of going through this a little bit. But we're going to really dive deep into these last two matches because both of these matches were very different. Both of these matches were a lot of fun, in my opinion. But let's start with the three-way match between Kenny Omega, Orange Cassidy, and Pac. All three guys looked absolutely amazing in this match. Kenny Omega finally coming out with all the gold, wearing the AAA Championship, the TNA Championship, the Impact Championship, and the AEW World Championship. That was great to see that. That really put him over as this unbeatable guy for Pac and for Orange Cassidy to try to take over. Pac is really over with the fans, but nobody's as over as Orange Cassidy is. He is ridiculously over. He is such a different guy, such a different worker, such a different wrestler. His gimmick is not for everyone, but it's so much fun to watch him. And his gimmick and Pac's gimmick and Kenny's gimmick, all three are so different that it really shouldn't have meshed well together. And that was one of our biggest concerns. We talked about it a couple weeks ago on the podcast. It was a big concern for us that maybe these three wouldn't mesh together. Like Kenny versus Pac one-on-one would be fun, and Kenny versus Orange Cassidy would be fun. And we've seen Orange Cassidy and Pac one-on-one; that was a great match. But all three together, we didn't know how it would work together. And I think it was absolutely match of the night. It knocked it out of the park. There were so many near falls. There were so many moments where you thought Pac was going to win. There were so many moments when you thought Orange Cassidy was going to win. We got a "F you, Don Callis" chant from the crowd, which was well needed. But we're going to kind of run down this match because this is one of the matches. This and the Stadium Stampede, I really took a lot of notes on. Let's just kind of work our way through this. So we had a lot of amazing back and forth between the three guys. We really had all three guys were kind of getting their own moves in back and forth. We have a comment from Jaime Fly. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name on our YouTube. Pac is so underrated, in my honest opinion. It's so true. I think Pac is underrated. I think Pac is one of those guys that he should be a world champion at some point in AEW. He is so talented. He's great at selling. He's so good on the mic. He's so intense and he's so believable. He really is one of those guys that should be elevated even more into the main event status. And both guys have a gripe to pick, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, to where they both can vouch that they should be AEW World Champion. And that kind of leads down to the future where we're going to see probably a couple of rematches. And one-on-one rematches for the AEW Championship would be a lot of fun between these three guys. Like I said, there was a lot of amazing back and forth. It really picked up when Pac hit a avalanche Falcon Arrow onto Kenny Omega, went to cover. Pac Orange Cassidy rolls in the ring, throws Pac out, and tries to get the pinfall. And it was like 2 3/4 before Kenny kicked out. So it was a great kick out there. The crowd was on edge for every single kick out and for every single pinfall, especially when it involved Orange Cassidy. That was a lot of fun to see that. Then we had a black arrow from Pac, who hit a beautiful black arrow on to Orange Cassidy after hitting an outside, or after hitting a hurricane or a over the rope jump. I forget which one it was. I'm sure Excalibur will let you know when you watch it. But he had a beautiful outside dive on Kenny Omega, climbs on the top rope, hits a black arrow on Orange Cassidy for a super close 3 count before Kenny breaks it up. And then we get a really, really, really close count on Kenny Omega after Orange Cassidy hit him with an orange punch. I think he fell, and it was like 2 and just a little after 3/4. Really, it was so close to being a 3 count. It was such a good near fall. And then I think he hits another orange punch on Kenny. He goes for the count. Don Callis has left commentary, runs down to the ring, and pulls the referee out from the ring before the 3 count. And we get this great moment where Orange Cassidy is staring down Don Callis. That's when we get the "F you, Don Callis" chants. And then Kenny Pac puts Orange Cassidy into the rings of Saturn. And Kenny keeps kicking Pac in the face, and Pac refuses to break it up. So instead, Kenny just attacks the referee, does a double axe handle on the referee, knocks him down. And then we get this really weird moment, but I really loved it, where Don Callis hands Kenny Omega each championship, and with each championship, he hits Pac over the head with it. He hits him with the TNA World Championship first, I believe. He hits him with the AAA title second. He hits him with the Impact title third. And then with the AEW title, he hits it fourth. And he gets ready to hit it again when Orange Cassidy rolls in the ring, hits an orange punch on Kenny. And then we get this great moment where Aubrey runs down the ring. It reminded me of Little Nate at WrestleMania 24, I think, against Taker and Edge. She runs down to the ring. She does a close count on Omega. Orange Cassidy almost gets him, and then Kenny rolls him up, does a crucifix pin for the 1, 2, 3, and walks away barely as your AEW World Champion. It was a great back and forth match. The ending sequence was so intense and it was so crazy. All three guys really put everything into it. Don Callis and the Elite and Kenny all now have amazing heat. There's really big heat against Orange Cassidy, even more heat now as we're moving into with larger audiences and larger crowd. I think that heat is going to be really important. It was such a great match. It was such a great back and forth. I really loved Don Callis's interference. Normally, I don't like that much interference, but it made sense. It fit storyline-wise. It fit with the characters. Orange Cassidy was selling everything great. He was selling his frustration great. Pac was selling his frustration great. So all three guys really just stepped it up and did a fantastic job in this match. And I'm pretty sure at some point down the line, maybe on Dynamite, maybe in a few pay-per-views, we're going to see Kenny versus Pac and Kenny versus Orange Cassidy again for the AEW title. At one point tonight, I was just begging that they would pull the trigger on Orange and put the title on him. But I think it was a great call not to. I think you continue to build this story with Kenny Omega. I think you continue to build him as the AEW World Champion, as holding all the gold for as long as you can until somebody, maybe like an Orange Cassidy down the line, beats him for the AEW title and really puts themselves over even more. I think that was great. This was definitely match of the night. I really, really enjoyed it. And then what was probably the most shocking moment of the night, Tony Schiavone is down at the ring and does an announcement for a new analyst for their new show Rampage on Friday nights that start, I believe, in 2020. Mark Henry. And I think this is a great call. Mark Henry does Busted Open with Dave LaGreca and Bully Ray on Sirius XM that I get to listen to every once in a while. It's amazing how much he understands the business now, and it's amazing how much he gets it. So I think Mark Henry coming in to be a coach, but also to be a TV analyst, is really going to give them more credibility. And I really love that some of these legends are from WWE are coming over to really help kind of get AEW off the ground. And I saw a great tweet that said that Randy Orton is really sending all the legends to AEW. I mean, he kicked Christian in the head, and Christian's at AEW, kicked Big Show in the head, Paul White's in AEW, and then he embarrassed Mark Henry on the Raw Legends show, and kind of now Mark Henry is over here as well. So there's no telling if Randy Orton touches somebody or touches a legend, they're probably going to end up in AEW in a few months, it seems like, which is really funny. But Mark Henry joining AEW is a great call, and I think that's beneficial for everybody down the line. And then we get to our main event. We had a co-main event technically, but this was the last match of the night. And it was very different. It was a lot of fun to watch. But before we get into that, let me let you know that you are watching the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast live review of AEW Double or Nothing. I am your special guest host, Andy York. I am the host of the Shandy Show that will be starting very soon. I'll plug all that at the end. But make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Twitch. If you're watching this on our Twitter page, make sure you hit that follow button as well so that you never miss out on any content. We drop episodes every Monday and Thursday on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Music, and Google Play, as well as on our YouTube channel, Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. You can also buy a t-shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com. You can really find us everywhere and anywhere. Make sure you follow that out. And if you forget everything, there's a ticker right here that you can read everything and find out where to go and what to find. So let's jump into the main event. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about this because I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of different opinions about this. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of different opinions between us on this show as well about what this match was. I have been on record to say that I enjoyed the first Stadium Stampede. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything crazy or amazing, but I think it was a lot of fun to watch. It was definitely funny. It was out there and weird. But I think it was a lot of fun to watch that. And so I really had high hopes for this coming into this. And it was different, I think, from last year or from the first Stadium Stampede. There was a lot of comedy still in it. There's still a lot of funny moments that we're going to talk about. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this match. I think it did a great job of showing each individual person and the tag teams in both groups. I think it really got both groups over as this massive thing. And we had the stipulation that if the Inner Circle lost, that they would have to disband. But by shock and by surprise, the Inner Circle actually won this match. We're going to talk about how they did that in a little bit, because I really think that it was smart the way they did it. And we'll get to that here pretty soon. But the match started with MJF in a limo into the state, driving into the Jaguars Stadium, and he's calling out Chris Jericho, who's calling out the Inner Circle. And of course, like Chris Jericho and his rocker mind, they rappelled down from the top of the stadium onto the rafter or onto the top floor, with just fire and pyro going everywhere. It was such a cool moment. I loved their entrance into this match. You could tell by their entrance that all five guys really were just beaming and excited and ready to be there. They make their way down. MJF runs back into the limo, and as they're trying to beat the limo and try to get to MJF, here comes FTR, Wardlow, and Sean Spears in FTR's truck. But the funniest thing is what Tully Blanchard was wearing this entire time, because he had this cut off shirt that just did not. He looked like he was coming out of the 80s. He looked amazing. If you haven't seen him yet, you definitely need to check him out. There's a lot of cameos in this that we're going to talk about, but the best looking one of all was Tully Blanchard and how he looked. And you get a better shot of him that we'll talk about here a little bit later, but I would definitely recommend checking out what he looked like tonight. But you get them to come in, and then you see a 5-on-4 fight between the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle. You kind of see all this mayhem going around. You have Santana and Ortiz and FTR fighting up into the stadium. You had Sammy Guevara and you had Sean Spears fighting in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the stadium. You had Wardlow and Jake Hager going at it with like this fire pit that Hager was trying to put Wardlow's face in. And then you had Chris Jericho just beating on the limo, trying to get into it to fight MJF. Jaime Fly says, ha, straight out of 1984. It really was. It was so great. You really need to look at Tully Blanchard. He was definitely got one of the biggest pops of the match for me. Was watching him the entire time. It was so funny. But the biggest portion of this match, or a lot of this match, was actually between MJF and Chris Jericho, which was a lot of fun. They kind of brawl back and forth outside the limo before taking it into the stadium itself, taking it into the front office of the stadium. Chris Jericho beats MJF with like trash cans, and they kind of go back and forth. MJF gets the upper hand until Chris Jericho finds a megaphone, and instead of hitting him in the head with the megaphone, he just blares it and yells in the megaphone into MJF's face, and then hits him with 2 pans over the head. It was a funny moment. It was a great moment. MJF gets thrown into a wall. It gets a table thrown into him. And then they make their way into this room. And when you first walk into the room, you see 2 people sitting there and you don't know who they are. And then you quickly realize that it is the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban Meyer, who is the former coach at Ohio State and at Florida. And you also have the former Texas coach, Charlie Strong, in there as well. So it was 2 cameos from those 2 guys that were just watching Chris Jericho and MJF beat each other. You had Charlie Strong throwing Chris Jericho footballs to throw at MJF. Chris Jericho used Coach Meyer's computer at one point against MJF. And then they just kind of go through and fight through. So a nice little cameo there by Urban Meyer. And that was a lot of fun to see that. And then you cut to Jake Hager and Wardlow fighting, and they end up somehow in a meat locker where there's like swinging pig carcasses everywhere. And at one point, Wardlow grabs a ice pick or a icicle. It looks like he's going to stab Hager with it. They fight back and forth until Wardlow puts Hager through a false wall. They go through a wall. And then it cuts to Sean Spears and Sammy Guevara, which was a kind of the weirdest moment of the match, probably the part of the match where I could have done without, where Sammy Guevara walks into a room with just like chairs everywhere, and Sean Spears is sitting in the middle of it, and then just like a blue light drops on Sean Spears. But they fight. They go back and forth. It actually ends with Shawn Spears handcuffing Sammy Guevara to a metal rack where he can't get away, but he finds bolt cutters and at some point finally escapes. And then you get to just where everything breaks down, and it's weird and it's funny. It's like an acid trip watching it. It really is. You have Santana and Ortiz walking into like this nightclub inside the stadium. And at the bar, you have FTR and Tully Blanchard just chilling at the bar drinking. And then instead of just meeting each other, the two teams take to beating like customers in the nightclub. They're throwing beer bottles at them and putting them through tables and fighting each other. And then they meet at this table, and Tully Blanchard pours a shot for all four of them. They take a shot, and then they just start beating the crap out of each other. It was a lot of fun. But before that, the DJ is actually Conan, which was a lot of fun. Definitely check that out. He gets involved a little bit. It was so much fun to see him as well. And you just kind of get a lot of back and forth here. Before you cut back to Wardlow and Jake Hager, who Hager has choke slamming Wardlow through a wood structure of some sort. And then you cut back to MJF and you cut back to Jericho, and Jericho is stapling MJF in the head with a Jacksonville Jaguars logo that says thank you on it, which is a nice touch from the blood and guts and wanting MJF to say thank you. Jericho takes a nasty pile driver on top of the conference table before finding his metal bat and starts beating the crap out of MJF with it. And then we end up back in the stadium. They worked their way into to Daly's place, which I love that this match was half taped, also half live. The crowd was hot for it. Even the tape portion of it, I thought I was worried that they may be a little bored with it or not as receptive for it. But they really enjoyed the tape part as well. They come back into the ring. You have MJF and Chris Jericho fighting in the crowd, which is nice to see people fighting. It's nice to see wrestlers fighting in the crowd again. Getting that interaction. We get the typical MJF is trying to attempt murder on Chris Jericho by throwing him over the balcony. But Jericho reverses it and power bombs MJF through a wood plank that is kind of sitting off to the side. And then we cut to the ring. We cut to Shawn Spears walking out of the stadium. And as he's walking out of the stadium, you see Sammy Guevara in a golf cart chasing him down and runs him down, kind of getting his own revenge on, even though Matt Hardy did that to him at the first Stadium Stampede, he was kind of getting his own revenge there, which was funny. Nice to see that. And they end up in the ring together. And it was a lot of showing for Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara really got a nice rub here. He really got over. They really put a lot of faith in him. He took a couple of nasty chair shots from Shawn Spears and got really close 2 counts before kicking out. And then everything breaks loose. He I forget what move he hits on Shawn Spears. He puts his face straight into a chair before hitting a beautiful and crazy 630 senton onto Shawn Spears and picks up the win by hitting that move in the middle of the ring. And everybody, the inner circle, come out to celebrate. So the inner circle is still a thing in AEW. Kind of a shocking decision. I think everybody thought that this was going to be the pinnacle, kind of kicking the inner circle to the curb. Maybe Jericho goes off TV for a little bit to focus on his band, to focus on Foggy. But I guess not. Fozzy. I'm not Foggy. Fozzy. But I guess not. I guess he's sticking around for a little bit. I guess they're going to build to something big, probably between him and MJF, probably a one-on-one at some point down the line. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this match. It really did a great job of getting MJF to get some of his comeuppance that he needed from Jericho, but it also did a great job of showing FTR and showing Santana and Ortiz, and Hager and Wardlow got a great showing. But really the MVP of this match, and we said this for Blood and Guts too, the MVP of this match was Sammy Guevara. Guevara got a lot of offense in. Guevara looked really, really strong in this match. He did a great job there as well. So MVP for that was Sammy Guevara. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a great way to end the night. It was a great way to get a pop from the crowd. The show ended. The show went off the air with the crowd singing Judas a cappella to Chris Jericho, which is a great way to do that as well. So overall, really enjoyed this match. Overall, really enjoyed AEW Double or Nothing. I really, really loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun to see that. I thought it was a great show from top to bottom. Like I said, I didn't get to watch the pre-show. I'll probably go back and watch that tomorrow. But overall, really, really enjoyed it. I loved every second of it. I was on the edge of my seat for most of it. It was a lot of fun to watch that. So I'm actually going to end the stream or end the live review the same way that I normally end all of the same way that Chris normally ends all of the other reviews. But before that, let's read this tweet, this comment. Hummy Fly says, my friend Lolo thinks Jericho versus MJF was the best segment. I agree. And all, it was a great show. Yeah, I think MJF and Jericho was probably the best segment because there's so much story going on there already. I think it added to it. I really, really love that. I really love the segment. I really love how they broke it off where you had each pair kind of getting their own moment to shine throughout the entire match. I thought that was great. But overall, I agree. It was a great show from top to bottom. Probably my favorite pay-per-view so far of 2021. I really, really loved it from top to bottom. Like I said, it was so much fun. But I'm going to end the episode by doing what we normally do on here, which is I'm going to give my turd sandwich of the night and also my high spot of the night. Let's start with the turd sandwich. There was not a lot to pick from, but if I had to pick, the most annoying thing to me was that we missed the first encounter between Christian Cage and Matt Hardy because they did the wide shot to show the next selection or the next group of people that were coming out. I think they should have spaced that out better to where we saw Hardy and Christian face to face, and then he gets attacked from behind, and then we get the big shot of who was coming out next. I think that could have been planned a little better, but that's just nitpicky stuff that I had to pick for this. My high spot of the night, other than the Stadium Stampede, I would probably give it to Britt Baker winning the Women's Championship. I think that was definitely the moment of the night for me. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a great decision to finally put the belt on her, and I think it's something that she really needs. And I think they should just strap the rocket on her and just let her fly for the rest of the year as the women's champion, probably even longer. Let her kind of be the face that the division really needs to see. So those are my turd sandwiches and my high spot of the night. But we really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to us. As I did this by myself, a one-man show, I hope it wasn't too boring just hearing myself the entire time. I'd like to thank all of you for hanging out with me and reviewing AEW Double or Nothing. If you have any other comments or if you'd like to say what you thought about the show, you can definitely still comment them on the live stream. You can also tweet at me at the Shandy Show. You can also tweet at Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, and they will and they would love to have yours as well. As I'm going to flash these up, you can tweet me at I'm Andy York or at the Shandy Show. You can definitely tweet us there to show us or tell us what you thought. Tell us where you think things are going, what your future booking would be if you were in charge, things like that. We'd love to hear from you as well. Don't forget to also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. Make sure that you follow us. If you want to hear the audio version on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, a new episode drops every Monday and Thursday, so you definitely want to check that out. You can also find us when after each pay-per-view, there's going to be a live post show that is going to be happening as well for both AEW, WWE, and NXT. So you can definitely check us out after each big event and show and pay-per-view. You can check us out here for live reactions and live rundown of the show. And make sure that you go over to prowrestlingtees.com/PBW to buy a t-shirt to help support the show. We really appreciate that as well. But yeah, as I said, that's going to wrap it up. That's going to end it. Really appreciate everyone hanging out and joining. We really appreciate Chris giving me the opportunity to kind of cover this by myself. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching it and breaking it down and talking about it here. But we really appreciate everyone tuning in and listening to us. I'm going to try to do my best Chris I'm struggling tonight. Best Chris Belcher outro, and we'll see you guys down the road.